Sorry, engineer, I'll just run through an introduction. So this is going to go on for 12 weeks. So in the 12 weeks I'm going to start off with basics and then probably go a little bit more extra as the weeks go by. This is, you can call it a class, but it's not really a class. I don't really want to run it as a class. It's more of a kind of workshop, but it's implementing something into your life. That's kind of the output that's desired, really. That it's not really just a learning thing. That even from Guruji's basic concept of Sikhi is, if Sunaya Manaya nahi hai, then it's not just about listening to it, it's about changing. But the key thing I want to emphasize is that Sikhi is whatever your Sikhi, however you want to do your Sikhi, that's entirely up to you. But the message is, I'm just going to try and make it as clear as possible about what Gurbani says. And in terms of why are we doing this, even I meet a lot of people, and a lot of people here like socialise or whatever, and meet a lot of people. In terms of Gursikhs, so obviously it's a Sikhi class, or a Sikhi workshop, or a Sikhi life-changing thing, whatever you want to call it. But in terms of people who are in Sikhi, or who are trying to follow it, there's a lot of issues. And it looks like my evaluation of it is that the foundations are a bit wrong. So the building blocks that we're trying to build on, they're not quite solid, firm enough. So that's where I want to start. So there's a lot of issues I'm finding is that people aren't happy, for instance. The whole theme of these 12 weeks is about what Guruji calls happiness. So I think the people who will benefit from it is, like I say, if we start, listen, and then every week there's going to be something to take away, and then the following week we'll come back and we discuss it. I mean, if people who have not come before these classes like this, probably around a year and a half ago, but the general format is that I want people to discuss things here too. So to form small groups and talk, and there'll be certain questions that to help you think about the subject later. So it's going to be beneficial if what you discuss, understand, learn is taken away and actually implemented. I think that's going to be the most beneficial. But anyone can benefit. I mean, if it's just about learning too. So again, as I mentioned, the main theme is around happiness, and the format is going to be. I'm going to change the format this time in terms of I'm going to look at add scientific research into it where it's been done. We use Gurbani. Gurbani, if you don't know the term, Gurbani means the Guru's word in the Sikh scriptures. We're going to discuss, and then I'm hoping that we do as well afterwards. So this week's topic, like I said, the base theme is happiness, but this theme's topic is gratitude. Being grateful, the secret to being happy in life. It's the concept of happiness and sadness. Now, even in Sikhi, this is taken from some research done. I don't know if you're interested in some of the background in this. It's a book called Positive Psychology. It's very, very good. I find it very interesting anyway. But happiness and sorrow come in the same package. Now, Guruji says in Gurbani, Guru says, "Dukh sukh doi ek saman." No, happiness and sadness is same. It comes from the same thing. And the reason why, even in from this psychology book, what gives us joy also has a capacity to give us pain. So anything that we find that gives us happiness, the same thing will give you sadness. And Guruji says, as a Gursikh, you treat both of those things the same thing. If you stay in the middle and don't let them affect you that much, then true happiness is found from somewhere else. And that's what we'll cover over the next few weeks. But choosing to accept that sorrow and sadness are much a part of life, as happiness and joy is part of our living, well-being. So when we look at, when someone gets a bit of sadness in their life, their whole persona changes, their life changes, their attitude changes. They sometimes become a wreck, go off track. Now, if we accept early on that in our life happiness is going to come, sadness is going to come, then you've got half a chance of having some balance there if those things do happen. And that's what we're going to go into a bit further. But happy people are able to accept sadness rather than fight against it or deny it. So if we, again, I'm using this happy term here different because the Guru's message of happiness is slightly different. And happy people feel negative emotions too. So, when we see someone says, "Oh, that person's always happy," but that's not necessarily the case. So emotions are with everybody. But what our default emotion is, that's where the problem is. So, unhappiness is caused by desiring what we don't have. So that's the basis of, if you say, "I'm not happy," or someone else is not happy, it's because you're wanting something that you can't have or you can't change. Trying to change something that you can't change. That's the basis of it. And is an interesting quote. I would use other quotes, but if you want to understand the meaning of happiness, you must see it as a reward and not as a goal. So if you're chasing it, usually it'll run a bit further. If it comes, then enjoy it. That's the basis of it. So wanting happiness, and where are you asking for it from? So this is Gurbani. Guruji says, "Pe nit nit khushiyan man kare, nit nit mange sukh jiyo, karta chitna aave, fir lage dukh jiyo, sukh dukh data man vasai, tit tan kaisi pukh jiyo." Now Guruji says, everyone, if you look at the world, everyone's running after this happiness. They're chasing this thing called happiness. But Guruji says that the more they want these pleasures, these happiness, things that are making their mind happy, the more pain they're getting trying to chase them. Because it says, "Karta chitna ave," because God, we don't remember God, but we're trying to find some other happiness somewhere else. But the true happiness is in finding God inside first. Now God is a giver of happiness and sadness. It's all predestined according to the Guru, it's all predestined, but how can the body feel any need if we've the creator or the power who's given us that or taking it away, if we start merging back with that power, then those outside pain or pleasure doesn't really matter that much. Now this was an interesting thing for everybody, and I think the percentages is something done through research. Sheldon, I can't even pronounce the second and third name, but they are researchers in psychology. Now this happiness formula they come up with is that like 50% you're born with. Now when we say born with, they call it a set point. So like you might meet a person that's always optimistic. They always say, "No, right, let's do this." There's always other people who are always negative. It's like, no, I can't do that. That always happens to me. It's always my problem. I must have done something wrong. Where there's always someone else who's always looking at everything as, "Oh, what's a great thing that's happened here. It's a great." Now that's called, they regard that as a set point. I'm not talking about the percentages, saying half. Let's say half of your happiness is based on that. We're just saying whether you're negative or positive or not. What you see, your perception of life. 40% of it is your circumstances. 10% of it is your circumstances. So in your life, it might be from your job, your finance, your relationships, your health. If those things go a bit wobbly, that starts causing some issues. Now that's only 10% of your, let's look at it as your overall happiness. The 40% is your voluntary activities, what you decide to do to make you happy. So you might do some people might do training, some people might do simrans, some people might do, it could be anything. Whatever makes you happy. You might do a hobby, some might do walking, some might do whatever it is. That's as a percentage. If you look at all these things now, the born and the DNA kind of thing, I think you could change it. According to the research, they believe you can't. But what it means is you kind of default back to that after a bit. Like you might get some happiness, but eventually you'll still go back to that person again. So if you're pessimistic, you're always like, "Oh, it's all negative." You might get happiness, it'll change you for a bit, but then you default back to that again. It's the same with your current activities. You might do something to make you happy for a bit. You might watch a program, or you might do whatever. You might have your relationship might make you happy for a bit, but then after a bit, when it goes a bit sour again, then you go back to your default. Now, if you're optimistic, then that doesn't affect you that much. But I think that's an interesting way of trying to summarize it and saying, why am I unhappy? And I'm going to break it down a bit further now. Now you think of it from this point of view. These are my various options that you've got. What type of person are you? I want everyone to think about this and see where you place yourself. In terms of your general personality, if you're are you negative or positive for the majority of the time? Do you always see it like there's always an opportunity here, or do you always see it as, oh, it's a threat to me, something's going to go wrong, I'm going to do something, it always happens to me? It depends where you are. Now, look at this. If you're a negative person, and the circumstances, so I'm looking at the top row there. If you're a negative person, and the circumstances in your life at present, they go bad, and then your voluntary activities, you don't do anything to make yourself happy. Now, I've met people like that. That's 100% sad person, 0% happy person, just according to that basic formula. Now that's disastrous. Where's that? What? So I'm going to run through these. So negative, a person who's negative, but is in their circumstances are going well, they're doing okay. So their job's okay, their life, their relationships might be okay. They're generally, everything's good in that respect. But that's only 10%. But their voluntary activities, they're not doing anything to make themselves happy in their voluntary, in their spare time. They're generally in a poor, that's 90% so they're going to be depressive, right? They're going to be depressed. Now, when sometimes we work that out, we try to work it out. Why did that person, they're so depressed and so sad? What's wrong with them? The life's breaking down. If you're a negative person and you've got bad circumstances in your life, but you still do good things, you still do things to make yourself happy, that puts you to 60-40. So you're still going to be unhappy because but the happy activities are getting drowned out because the 60% is taking over. But this is where it starts getting interesting now. So if you're generally pessimistic person, negative, or more or less negative, but you've got good, your circumstances in your life, everything's working okay, and you are doing things that are making you happy, then you're on 50-50. But that person will generally be happy. So it doesn't mean if you're born as a negative person, that person can't be happy. That's what I'm trying to say. That even if you're born in with that kind of, oh, everything's bad, a person can still be happy, because happiness drowns out the negatives, even though it's 50-50. Now, this is where the positive person comes in. If you're positive, and there's bad things happening in your life, and you aren't doing anything voluntarily, even then, you're probably unhappy, but the happiness is under serious threat. But if you're a positive person, and you've got good things in your life happening, and you don't actually do anything actively to try and make yourself happy, that person's generally going to be happy. If you're positive and you've got bad things even happening in your life, but you still do things to make yourself, so you're still doing positive things, you'll probably be still very happy. And if everything's going well, then you're mega happy, right? So it's a good way of breaking it down and understanding how those factors, if you just look at those factors, I say the percentages are debatable, come up with them, how they come up with them, but it's still a good way of breaking down a formula to say, how are you going to be happy? Because when we look at people, if you're a grateful person, if you're grateful for what you've got, this is related, so this is gratefulness. Gratefulness is 100% related to your happiness. Now, if you're a person who's being grateful, because gratefulness is saying it's a positive emotion, it makes you more alert, enthusiastic, determined, attentive, empathic. So you're kind, happy, healthy. You've got compassion in terms of empathy. And these are the kind of the effects. So this is the research part. These are the effects of having gratitude. So the effects of expressing gratitude regularly: you recover from illness better and faster. You cope with stress better. You are more inclined to be moral. Your relationships get better. You want and desire less and are happy for longer with what you have. You feel greater self-worth and higher self-esteem, and you experience fewer feelings of anger, guilt and jealousy. Now what we want to try and find out is gratitude. What is Guru saying? What is this? To be one person's gratitude might be, I'm happy that I've got a healthy body, for instance. Another's might be, I've got lots of money. Now, Guruji in Sukhmani Sahib, and everyone who reads Sukhmani Sahib, you come across this body here, that Das bast vulle pache pave, ek bast karan bikhod gawave. Now, Guruji is saying a person obtains 10 things and puts them behind and says, don't care about those 10, I want this 11th one. Ek bast karan bikhod gawave. In other words, and Guruji is saying you give up your faith. What we say is, I don't care about God, don't care about anything, I want that 11th thing. Now, Guruji is asking us a question. He says, Ek pi na de, das bhi hille, to mura to kaam kare. He goes, if God said, that forget about that one thing, I'm taking the 10 back as well. Because then, as you fool, what would you do? Because he was saying, Jis Thakur Sunahi Chara Tanko Kije Sad Namaskara. Because God, He can't be moved by force. We can't make Him give us happiness. We can't make Him give you. We can't make Him do anything. So Guru said, bow in front of Him. Why are we saying, forget about the 10 things I love? He gave me as a gift. I want the 11th one. He says, that's not the way to be acting. That's not great. That's not gratitude. Jaake man laga prab meetha sarv sukta hu man butha. Now Guruji is telling us how to get happiness. Because if God, when you're believing in God, when you're doing your simran, when you're doing your meditation, your part, if He becomes sweet to you in your mind, because then happiness starts coming. That's true happiness. Jis jan apna hukum manaya, sarva thok nanak tin paya. With one who abides by the Lord's will, they obtain everything. Now, in Sikhi, there is a concept of when you think of something for a split second, if your mind's constantly God imbued, if you think of something for a split second that you need, Guru says, the ikshin, if you you just think about it, you get that. But that's part of this positive thing, this aura that you develop. You know? This Sikhi that it goes to such a level. Guruji says, in your mind, anything that comes that you need, Guru gives it straight away. Now, Bhai Gurdas Ji, in one of the vars, because the sky touching mountains, so these huge mountains, because even they're not much weight compared to an ungrateful person. If you read the last thing, in fact, an ungrateful person is a burden on earth and he is the evil of deeds. So Bhai Gurdas is saying the amount of weight that the person who's ungrateful puts on this earth is more than the mountains. The visible faults are not as weighty as that ungrateful person. Those oceans in which the rivers merge are also not as heavy as that person. Now if you read Kabir Ji's slok, because Kabir Ji, when we went over the Kabir Ji sloks for everyone who came before, Kabir Ji can say that Jara Sagatya Kabir Tarti Sadhaki Taskar Baise Gai. Because this earth was made for saintly people. There's a righteous rule, there's a righteous way of living, and it's made for righteous people. But he says the thieves have come and sat on it. It's calling us that's no one else, is us. You know? So we're sitting here like thieves, just taking everything, why we give nothing back. Because the earth never says, these are bad people. It says the earth keeps giving fruit and giving vegetable, giving all things to them to eat. It keeps giving them everything. The earth never says that. So even Kabir is saying that the earth's not ungrateful, he's kind, but the human being's ungrateful. This is what Bhai Gurdas is saying, Tarbara, falsafulafulande, because even the trees, if you add them all together, how heavy they are, because they're not as heavy as that person. Nadisapare, ji, janda, anaganata firande, because if you take all the creatures and weigh them, but the person who is an ungrateful person on this earth is heavier, there's more weight than all of those. In terms, that's our pav, the sins that we do. Now here's the one last thing Bhai Tarsem says, is this is very, it's a sakhi, sort of something he must have seen. I'm not quite sure where he got, what it was. He says, if you take the meat of a dog and cook it in wine, this is mandi vas, because it's a foul smell, and you put it, don't put it in a plate, you just put it in a human skull instead. Cut the skull and put wine and put mass. That means what Bhai Tarsem is saying, you wouldn't even go near that kind of food, let alone do anything with it, right? Because if you cover it with a blood-stained kapda as well, a cloth is blood-stained, so it means it looks inedible, it smells inedible, and it's a disgusting thing. Because if you take a scavenger woman, and she's taking it, and even after she's done some bad account, like a prostitute, she's taking it. Because someone asked, what is she doing covering that up? She covered this disgusting food. Even she said that she's covered it up. She goes, if an ungrateful person sees it, it's going to be fritya, can't eat it. And you wouldn't eat it anyway. We wouldn't eat it anyway. No one would touch anything like that. But it's just a point Bhai Tarsem is making, that even that mari cheez, for someone who's that bad, it doesn't accept gratitude and what God's given us. Says if they even look at that thing, says or it becomes polluted. Now, just before we go into some questions where you break up the, these are the, if anyone who does, Sukhmani Sahib is really, person who does it every day, is very good paga. In the Ashpati Kam Krodha Lobh Moh Pid Sajai Aham Mev Nanak Prabh Sharanagati Kar Prasad Gurudev. Guru Arjan Dev Ji, he listed all of these things. It also Jai Prasad Shakti Amrit Khai Thakur Gora Kumanama. He says, with God's grace, you achieve these things. Guruji is telling us to do certain things, saying if you've got these things. Now, when we talk from a body point of view, there's human birth, there's a healthy body, eyesight, hearing, speech, able hands and body. Even if you're good looking, you're giving you nice looks, features, and eating, drinking well. He's given us all of those things. We're not gracious or happy or we don't have gratitude for those sometimes. The line goes too high above those. I don't know if you saw the news today, on the news that there's a woman, her boyfriend gouged her eyes out. I don't know if it's really bad person, mara bad gum. She hasn't got, she can't see anymore. Now, the really interesting thing about that story was that when they got to see her and talk to her afterwards, she says, I'm back to normal. And she's blind. She goes, I'm back to normal. Now, if you go look at her attitude, look at her, her gratitude. She says, I'm back to normal. I'm a happy person. Even though she can't see. Now, if our eyes get taken away, the thing we got every day, there's something to think about anyway. Virtues. We've got virtues. You've got righteous life. You're charitable. You're religious. A good family. You've got self-respect. Guru said, if you've got all of those things, he's telling us to do something. We put decoration on our body, so we decorate our body. We put scent on it, and you put nice clothes on. Having gratitude for that. Spirituality, he gives us naam, he gives us a mantra to jap. He gives us virtues, he gives us gurbani, he gave us sadh sangat. We've got possessions, palaces, houses, gardens, land, wealth, vehicles, cozy bed. We just regard our cozy bed as nothing. I think it was just when we talked about Thanda Burj, and some of the Gursikhs on television, can they lie on the floor one night, instead of lying on your bed, when Mata Gujri and the Shorty Sahibzade, they were in a Thanda Burj, said on that day, on that night, sleep on the floor instead of sleeping in your bed, just to remember. But then Guru Nathan, you give you a bed, you know? But even that, the Guru Sikh said, Rajai bin Allah on that day. Don't even put a Rajai on. On one day of your life, sleep on the floor, don't sleep with a Rajai. You know? Then you understand that every day you're sleeping. So, worldly status. Now, everyone, look, Sant Singh Maskeen, he said something, he said about Arman, I think I might have said it before. He says, if a son is sitting with his father and the son could see his father's thoughts, he wouldn't even speak to his father, in many cases. If we're sitting next to each other, you can see what the other person's thinking. You probably wouldn't, you might not be friends anymore, right? Now, Guruji's sins are covered, they're hidden, he's hidden our sins. God's hidden them. You might have a highly spiritual status. It's bakshishya, famous and have prestige. People know you. Maan thone milda. Social status, worldly honor. You might have all these things. And your path. You've got your desires fulfilled. All your affairs are resolved and you're the best at something. You might be good at something. You might have got a promotion at work. That means you're the best at something. You're better than everyone else in your area. You might have, could be anything. But you're good. But that's a blessing. Now, this is, I've just put those, categorized those. Now this is what I'm calling a gratitude line. You can't see it that well from where you have the black line in the middle. That's going up and down. Now, your gratitude is going up and down. The worst type of person, and we all do it, and you might be, if you're always like that, then you really need to consider, we need to consider what we're doing. If our line is all the way at the top and say, I don't care, so I've got a body, and it's healthy, and I've got all those things. So what, I've got possessions. So what, from respectability, I've got those things, and decoration, I can decorate my body, and spirituality, I've got that, and my path is clear, and I'm virtuous, and I've got those things, but I want this one other thing. I want this one other thing, and that's making me exceptionally sad. It's making me a girtkan, what we've just been talking about. It's making me ungrateful for what I've got. If that line is going all the way to the top, and that's what we're doing, then that's where the issue is. That's why we're unhappy, Because all of those things, we put them all at the back. Guruji says, "One menu job chahiye 100,000 di." That's what Guruji says. Bhai, Sas khate lakh ko uthta hai, tripat na aave maya pache paave. Because get sas da matlab 100, 1000 mil gaya, then he says lakh ko uthta hai. Because now he wants 100,000. He says tripat na aave maya pache paave. Guru says like a fire, you keep putting stuff in the fire gets bigger. It doesn't say, fire doesn't say stop. Now I want everyone, if you can go into groups of about 4 or 5, and please sit with people who you don't know. I have a bit of gratitude for your friends today. Don't talk to them. These are the questions. I'll put these 2 things there, your gratitude line there, and I'll put the happiness one there. I want you to just talk about these things. Are the people in your life happy? And what are the factors? And the people in your life might be you, it might be your children, it might be your partner, it might be your parents, it could be anyone. Does your gratitude line change, and what affects it? What are the major signs of being grateful? And the Guruji said, this is a hard question, this is the 4th one, so I'll just see what. The Guruji says, if you go to his sharan or shelter, it's where sin departs. Now how is that related to gratitude? That's a hard question. If you read Gurbani, Guruji says, Pinjabi sharan sadhaki ayo, dormat sagar binasi. Because when I came to the sanctuary of the Guru, because all my sins went away. Now we come, what we regard as sanctuary all the time, we might come every Sunday, right? But our sins ain't gone. What does that mean? Prabhuti sharan sagal pair lathe, dukh bin se sukh paya. Guru says, Prabhuti, when you go into God's sanctuary, sare thode dar mein, all your fears go away, and all your pain goes away, and he goes, you get sukh, you get happiness. we're not getting. So I want you to think about that. That Sharan Guru's talking about in his shelter, how's that related to gratitude? They have to think about that. No? So if you can get into groups of like 4 or 5, and with different people if you can, and we'll go around the groups afterwards. And if you're not used to that, don't worry about it. So please, if there's people you don't know, sit with them, please. In terms of the first question, if ever just elect a person in your group, it'd be easier. So we'll pass the microphone around, you can tell everyone what you're talking about. So, are the people in your life happy? And what are the factors? What factors? Okay, everyone listen then please. Waheguru. Okay, everyone just listen to everyone's answers.
Yeah, you just say now it depends on the desires of the people, basically. We've had a few ideas, but I think inevitably for a lot of people it could be money.
No, that's all right. So you're saying it's what they desire is driving their happiness.
That's right. Yeah.
Very good. Pass it on to the next group. Keep it up, So you only have to say one thing, you don't have to say,
Some people are not happy because the reason, my own personal one is because of my health.
Yeah. So if you're not healthy, that can make you unhappy.
That can make you, yeah. I think, we discussed that most people that we know generally aren't happy these days. Jimron, Naples, Samjol, Sophia, that is reality today. And there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. But it's got you at the end of the day. And time is life is very busy, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of expectations, like a rat race out there. And, because of that, our life is not simple now. So that's what probably contributes to the world of Maya.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've made our lives complex. And because we made our life complex, even Guruji Gurbani, which he says, I went to tell someone about one of my dukh. He goes, because that's what it is. He says, he's that person. I went to tell him my one, because they told me 5 back. And he goes, okay, I'm quite happy really.
I think one of the things you just said, was that the fire's getting bigger, so our desires are getting bigger, and expectations are getting bigger, and needs are getting bigger.
Yeah, so society is driving these desires, right? So they're making them bigger, and they're squeezing us through recessions. So then you've got problems. You're trying to aim for something, and it's too hard to get it. And the next group.
We were actually quite confused by the question. She was saying that actually it is if we have what we want, we're happy. But then I was sort of confused thinking actually, because the question was, are people around you happy and what are the factors? But do we ever ask the people around us, are they happy and what is happiness?
But
that is one of the things, because, it made this question, actually, the people that we spend most of the time with, do we ever actually ask them, are you happy?
You don't know, yeah, it's true.
But yeah, that's where we left it.
So sometimes you don't even know if the person's happy or not.
Yeah, we could think they're happy, and again, it's probably the desires that make them happy, but once they're taken away, is there a happiness around that surrounding? You've got to make that happiness within.
It's true.
That's the wrong number.
Sometimes the people you don't expect, they end up in a very bad situation. Sometimes you think, hey, how they ended up there?
Yeah, you didn't even know. Yeah.
The way that we read it was, what are the factors? How do you know that the people around you are happy? And we were saying that it depends on how they talk to you. If you come home and your wife says, "There's your feet, I'm off to bed," she's not happy about something. But if you come home and they say to you, "How was your day? What did you do today?" You know, either they're after something or maybe they're arguing with you.
Yeah, that's true. So their mood or the way they're behaving.
Tells you that they're happy or not.
Yeah, so I guess the question is around, what are the factors you think that are making them happy or not unhappy? What's driving them to be like that?
Yeah, we narrowed it down to unfulfilled desires. So, in all extensively.
Yeah, chasing something. So I want to make something clear. I know what it can come across as is that, okay, you're just this person who has no goals, right? Who has like nothing to do, and you just say, well, I'm happy because I've got nothing. That's not. I don't think it means that. I just want to make that clear. That you can still have drive for something, but sometimes what you say is, even when we do ardas as a gursik, if you do an ardas hukum nahi hai guru nu. Never think that I'm doing an ardas, Guruji, I hope I get that job, sort it out, it'd be great. That's not ardas, because then you say, if he gives me it, I'm happy, I'll do 25 more jobs at the side of the bar. If he doesn't give me it, then my nithanim is going to go late for 5 months. That's a hukam or ardas nahi hai fir. So this doesn't mean that you don't have any desire to do anything in life. I think I just want to make that differentiation. It means you still do those things, but the outcome of that, you're not that driven by that so much that it's destroying you because you're not having it. No? Which group's next?
Looking for somebody from the older generation and looking at my grandchildren, I recently noticed that they were spending a lot more time crying than I ever used to. Not because they're told off, but I've come to the conclusion it's constantly because they desire more, they want more, and because they can't have it, then they become unhappy for that. And one of our group had spent some time in Africa, in a very poor village, etc. And she noticed very much that their level of gratitude was much better than ours because they were poor and because they weren't wanting those constant desires.
Absolutely. Yeah. We went to the tsunami with 3 of the Gursikhs here, and those kids we bought these toys from the shop and gave them to the kids there, and those kids were running around. He had it on one of the things that he on one of his phone. They were running around playing these games, and you think, you give these to our kids down here, they say, what was that? Where's my Xbox? And it's an important point that it starts at a young age. The ungratefulness starts there, and we're to blame for it, and then we say, what happened to these children? Society's always also to blame, but it's that thing about teaching them, teaching children from a young age that it ain't all about you, it's about me. Who's next?
Yeah, I'm unhappy because somebody gave me the mic to speak to everybody.
We think chasing material things people desire and not being able to get them.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's treating it like a time bomb. It's alright if you don't think there's anything different, but it's more, when you say something, it might be something you discussed and no one else discussed that, right? So it's just, someone else might learn something about what you were talking about.
He's a bit shy. But what we've been talking about is it depends who you're comparing yourself to as well, who your peers are. And even our older generation, when they came to set up the foundation here, and they were very grateful because they've seen a lot of, like you say, in India, they've seen a lot of poor people, so they're very grateful. And they were very happy at that time, even they were almost working 24/7. And now we're working like 35-40 hours and we're really grateful.
ਦੱਸੋ ਜੇ ਫਰੀਦ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਫਰੀਦਾ ਰੁੱਖੀ ਸੁੱਕੀ ਖਾਏ ਕੇ ਠੰਡਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਪੀ if you chapati the roti ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਚੋਪੜੀ ਉਹ ਦੇਖ ਪੜਾਈ ਚੋਪੜੀ ਨਾ ਤਰਸਾਈ ਜੀ it says if yours isn't like got butter on it and you've got a cold glass of water he could just have it, be happy. You just don't look at the next person and say look how nice theirs is, you know? It's a hard thing to do sometimes. You're always looking at the next person. And if you look at I might cover some of that in the homemade talk. Homemade, that's what it's all related to. The me, the I need something. Why we separate from God? It's because of that. That's the driver. The driver is you're looking at someone there, you're looking at someone down there. I'm better than them, but I'm reaching for them. And that's, so it destroys Sikhi. See, this group, is it this group here?
We thought happiness was health was a factor, but it was only when health is bad that you realise that you're lucky to have it and that it's good. But we struggled on this.
Our group thought that when we meet some people, they can be momentarily happy because they've got something, but we don't really know if they are truly happy. They could be equally momentarily unhappy if something's taken away from them, but we don't know really what's going on inside them.
So the exterior might be really happy, or some of the exterior might be really sad. It's an interesting thing. If you read about the Bhai Tarsem Singh, Baron they used to look like they're like, what's it, got a problem or something. But they weren't, they were happy inside. But they were barag from the outside. Or like they say, you can't go near them. But they weren't like that. No, from inside they were very loving.
Future people know how happy they are. With yourself inside. In my group, they family lost one of the loved ones. They just can't seem to get over it. I mean, they're hanging on, they're very angry about what happened. They can't understand why it's happened. My God did that. It's just very difficult to explain.
So spiritual, when we look at spiritual laws, I mean, we read the Shabd, where it says God controls everything. He's a data. In other words, He's a giver and the taker of happiness and sadness to everybody. But sometimes we don't understand why those two things are happening. But if you look at from the Sikhi point of view, it's the Karma philosophy, which we'll cover one of the weeks as well. That's quite complex. Then the next, gratitude line, I guess there might be some confusion around that. Then in terms of the gratitude line, what we're saying is, if you look at those blocks there, sometimes we're just saying, I need this, I need this. I don't care if I've got a healthy body. I think we mentioned it here. I don't care if I've got a healthy body today. Oh, I need this, I need this, right? I don't care if I've got all these possessions. I want that extra one. I don't care if the respectability of you guys watch the news and watch all those things. When these kind of newspapers get onto someone and they destroy those people, one day they're living in a respectable, great life and they're quiet and they haven't got this big fanfare about their name and no one knows who they are. They were happier then than when someone put them on the front page of the newspaper. In other words, they destroyed them with some story that they didn't want anyone else to know. Now, look, if you've got your respectability, you haven't been destroyed like that. That's a very large thing to be grateful for. So there's other things like your spirituality. Now, this is a very important one. When we have one point, we want to try to understand that we want to cover in more detail later on is if you don't build up good experiences in your life that you're happy when you think back about them, if you don't do that, I'm going to ask you a really basic question, you can answer it in your own heads. If over the last 6 months, can you tell me about what your happinesses were in the last 6 months? Now I've asked people that before, and I sat and they were sitting there blank like this. If you're sitting there blank now and you can't think of things that made you happy over the last 6 months, it's somewhat not right, you know? There should be loads of things, you should be churning them off like that. And if you're not, then you're building up yourself up to something wrong, right? So there should be all of these things when we find out. For instance, just a couple of weeks ago, we went to last week, we went to, can't remember where we were now, Spain. We went to Spain. So this Sal Sangat was there. We went and saw them. So that should make you happy. You come in here Fridays, you sit in the Sangat and you're doing similar, you got a chance to hear Kirtan. Have you guys read Gurbani about what listening to Kirtan means? Listening to Kirtan means that you listen to that for a split second and you can be saved if you do it correctly for a split second. Now, you got a chance to do that. How many people haven't got a chance to do that? You got a chance to sit with people and talk to them. You got your friends. There's plenty of loners, and you can probably point them out. They're sit lonely. They don't have that social circle. There's hundreds of things you can think about. Your path, your virtues. If you wanted to get a job and you got it. If you needed some money and you got it. When you wanted your children, you got them. The amount of you come here on Sundays and you hear the ardas on what people are asking for. But bachcha nahi hunda, job nahi mildi, paise we've got nothing. And all those things we got them all. Not in abundance sometimes. Guruji gives you in abundance, right? You got loads of them. You got much more than what you need. But all those things don't matter then, no? God doesn't matter then. I want this extra thing. So that's where that gratitude I was talking about there. When does it go up? When does it go down? Are you at a state where you say, I'm really appreciative of all of them things now? Because that will bring you down to earth quickly. Otherwise, I want this other thing. Oh, I totally lost it. I've wasted 15 years doing it, trying to find it. That's where we end up. So in terms of that line, what did you guys come up with? Come on, let's have a volunteer who's really keen on saying something. What did you say about gratitude now? What's changing it? Is it always that you say I'm gratitude about everything? Or is it sometimes you totally forget about all of those things? And what's driving, why is that line going up and down? What did you guys talk about? You start here. Who's got the...
I think the more you attach to the illusion of the world, then the higher the gratitude of the line goes.
The line goes. Maya didn't badi ho jandi hai. And then Guru says, Maya rang birang khine mein jo badal ki shaya. He says that, those clouds come and it stops the sun for a bit, and the person sits there thinking, oh, it's okay now. But when it goes away, it's 40 degrees centigrade. Same as that, with this illusion. It will go away after a bit, and then you'll say, oh my gosh, I've got a load of pain. I didn't know where that came from. Where's it gone? Siddhi karo ki tusi kehna maine ਇੱਥੇ ਰੱਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਛੋਟਾ ਨਾ ਮੇਰੇ where's the mic gone? Change your people. You can't talk again. It's alright, it's my sister. Say that.
When you have a good day.
I did.
You have a good day.
So when you have a good day, your gratitude gets higher. Okay.
I think generally I'm discussing that if we are able to accept like God's will, then the gratitude line should go higher and more. Obviously, we're jumping and then more it will go higher and less expectations as well.
I don't know if you guys experience this. If you get, when you expect less from God, He gives you more. Have you felt that sometimes? When you're not expecting things, he just throws things at you. But when our expectations are staying there, then it's like you're trying to grab something and it moves a bit further, then it moves a bit further. And when you go that way, Gurbani says, it runs after you this way. Maya dasi way, and he stands in front like that. Says, what do you need? So the Gursikh just kicks it out. So they don't need anything from you. But unfortunately, the whole dunya is not saying, they say, come close, I need something. And you use the next group.
If you're staying by Guruji's hukam, then it's a good thing. Then if you're sad and you're happy, if we get really happy about something, really excited, we're having parties and stuff. When we're sad, we're really sad. But if you take Guru's hukam and you say what happens, then you stay at a level. The happiness stays the same, the sadness stays the same.
ਜਦੋਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੋ ਨਰ ਦੁੱਖ ਮੈਂ ਦੁੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨੈ ਸੁਖ ਸਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਭੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕੰਚਨ ਮਾਟੀ ਮੰਨ. So if a person, when they're in pain, doesn't accept that they're in pain. When they're happy, they don't accept that they're happy. When they say, Guruji says that the gold and their mitti, gold and dust is the same to them. That's a Gursikh. We'll just pick a couple more groups because otherwise we'll take quite long.
Yeah, gratitude. I was saying in general that if you read the Bani itself, it does teach you how to lead the way of life, and Sukhmani Sahib itself, it tells you a lot about things on how to be happy. And for me personally, and I think we've had this discussion in the group as well, that if you do try to go by, the hukam as we call it, then, you wouldn't be affected by all these things. You wouldn't want this, you wouldn't want that, you wouldn't want that. But doing that in principle is hard, but that's what we've got.
Did anyone else have anything that was different?
It's really where the focus is, isn't it? It's really where the focus is. The focus is more on short-lived happiness. Buying something like a car or something like that, and that's where someone looking at something else, and there's no end to it.
So we focus on temporary things. When the temporary thing's gone, then you're back to what we call your set point again, which is keep that. So, okay, it doesn't matter. I think the mic isn't getting recorded anyway, is it? So, what are the major signs of being grateful? If you just shout one thing out each, what did you guys come back? Humility, very good. Sanjeev, that group there. Content. Next group.
Voluntary work, doing something unconditional.
Yeah. Doing something unconditionally, very good, yeah. This group, yeah.
So you have the same charity, being charitable.
Being charitable, yeah. That group, yeah.
As is more like seva as well.
So you sign of being grateful is to do more, give more. Is that a different group there? That group?
Your body language.
Yeah, your body language. So you have an aura, or you might have a positive.
Good vibes,
Yeah.
not bad vibes. People notice that as soon as they meet you.
Yeah. So is that group there?
Yeah, we said being emotionally stable or neutral. So when something happens, then the effect, like depending on how your emotions react to the action, then that will obviously dictate the further action, whether it's looking for more happiness or actually being grateful.
So even if a negative thing happens in your life, you kind of absorb it, right? Yeah. That group there.
You said contentment and how you then act with other people. That shows whether you're being grateful or not.
Yeah, so your interaction with people. And remember, in the 5 if those who understand what the 5 evils are, hankar is about your interaction. When you start talking, I'm better than that other person, hankar is bolna. That's what that is. And that group, next group.
Having compassion.
having compassion. Yeah.
I think if you show love and compassion to the people, that shows that you're quite grateful in life.
Yeah. This group here?
What's the question?
What is a major sign of being grateful?
If you want to see someone grateful, if they make you feel grateful or happy, I'm sure that's one side. And again, compassion, because compassion is the root of all virtue. So I'd say, yeah, definitely compassion.
Guru said, Tol Taram. Every sorry, part they say in the morning, if you read Japji Sahib, Tol Taram Daya Kaput. Guruji said, your righteousness, if you say I'm religious or whatever that means, whatever that you want to call it, he says that is actually the son of compassion. It's born through compassion. There's no such thing as being religious and not being compassionate. They're not mutually exclusive. It has to. Your religiousness or your righteousness is only going to come through compassion. That group there, Babi and the group. Is that two groups? Raja, तुसी की क्या? Pradeep Singh, किधर?
Circumstances of life.
Yeah, ठीक है. So how you handle circumstances. So then, in terms of Guru says that sharan or shelter is where sin departs. So how is that related to good gratitude? Does anyone have some idea around that? That group there.
Now, Hardy was just saying to me that. I'll try to explain what he's saying.
Do you think
if you surrender yourself to the Waheguru, the Guru side, you get internal happiness.
Hadith Singh, go on, just say it. Hadith Singh, go on. Hadith, go on.
I think what was Hardy trying to say is that
he doesn't even know what you're trying to say. Just say it.
You surrender yourself to Waheguru. Tell me again. So what I'm saying is that when you go into Waheguru Sharan, you basically surrender yourself to Waheguru and you get eternal peace. Once you get eternal peace, then your gratitude increases. You have God for everyone then. That's what I'm saying.
Good. The reason why I'm asking that question, for about 10-15 years, I had the question in my mind that Sharan Vijnana, we all go to Sharan or Guru. I didn't understand what does it mean. It's got a meaning. And I even wanted to ask other knowledgeable things, but I didn't think anyone could answer the question. Now, I'm not saying I can answer the question, no, but I'm just saying that is it. We have to understand that it's a major concept. Every Sharan Guru di Sharan Vijnana, what does that mean? Next. Next, who's got the mic?
When you come in as Guru Shan, it means you lose I. You lose the I within myself. Saying I, then you come to Guru Shan and you're actually within Guruji. And that's what other people was saying as well. You get internal peace. And that's saying what other people are saying, that all around you becomes that. So you have to lose. I'm nothing. Guruji is everything. That Sharan is everything.
Yeah, we said the same thing. Basically, to come to Guru Sharan is basically realising that everything that happens in your life, we've got no control over it. It's all Guruji controls everything. And once you realise that, like someone actually said to me when I was speaking to him the other day, bring it on. You just think, bring it on, we'll just carry on with it, whatever's coming our way, because you can either go through life laughing happily, thinking whatever is in Guru Shams, you can accept it, or you can cry about it. There's only one way or the other way, it's either negative or positive. But I think it's directly related to gratitude, because you realise that when you actually realise that everything that happens for a reason, and Guruji is doing it all, you have gratitude, because you think, I'm grateful that you're here, that you're actually here, you've been given this life. So that's basically it, just, yeah.
What we were thinking was, so sin, so we were thinking, so you have those 6 green boxes with all the different things that we do, like decorate our bodies and all the rest of it. So we were thinking that sin will probably be caused out of all those actions that we do. So if we're doing those actions, then sin will outspring from those actions. The reason we do those actions is to get some sort of happiness. And then we were thinking, then why do we practice gratitude? So we're practicing gratitude to give us happiness. So I think we were discussing that there's 2 different happinesses we're talking about here now. So there's the happiness we get from being grateful, and then there's the happiness we get from doing those worldly actions which could possibly outspring the sin. So what we were thinking was, if we're being grateful, then we're getting some sort of happiness from being grateful. Therefore, we don't need to revert to those other worldly actions which will outspring the sin. And by not outspringing the sin, therefore by default, it's like being in Guru Sharan 24/7, whether you're in a Gurdwara or whether you're at your Jagda's daughter's wedding party, you're still in the Sharan, because your default actions become due to gratitude rather than because of the happiness that you get from the gratitude rather than the happiness you get from those other things that were listed. Something like that.
No, it's good. It's good. So this is the main. Get the next person ready. That's good. Kaam, krodh aur lobh moh bin sajaye aham mev nanak prabh sharanagati kar prasad gurudev. Now in this shabd, this is in Sukhmani Sahib, this is what we've been talking about. But kaam, krodh aur lobh moh bin sajaye aham, these 5 evils of sexual desire, anger, greed, emotional attachment, and egotism, or this I think, Guruji says they all go. Bin sajaye. Nanak Prabh Sharanagati Kar Prasad Gurudev. He says Nanak seeks the sanctuary of Vaheguru, please bless me. But in that Sharan, those things go. That's what we're talking about. When we talked about all of those things, I'm not gonna go through all of it, but if you look at this page, Jai Prasad Shati Amrit Khaye, this Thakur Ko Rakhaman Mai, the Guruji is saying, if you're getting all this food to eat, 36 delicacies, Guruji says, he says keep him in your mind all the time for that, if you got that. But Jai Prasad Sugandha Tan Lave, even if you apply sense to your body, remember him all the time. Just Sukh Mandir, if your car is really nice, your house is really nice, because remember him in your mind all the time. All these things he's given you, but Jai Prasad, Grah Sang Sukh Basana. If you're sitting in your family and you're getting happiness, even that we just reject, we don't regard that as a great thing. He goes, if you're getting that, remember him for 24 hours a day then. Now everyone should read this. If you're getting all these happinesses in your life, Nanak Sadati Aiye, he goes, remember him all the time. This is our Guru, what he's saying. So our life should change, right? If we're getting happinesses, but if we get one sadness, what we do is someone described it to me, but all day you laddu khai jana, and at night time ek mirch khani pai, and he says, forget all the laddus, right? That mirch was horrible. That was a terrible mirch, that was. 18 hours you ate laddu all day. It's the same with this. We say, that one thing, I'm not going to let that go. It's a pain, it's a problem in my life. But what about all the happinesses that we're getting? Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but we should all read these. When we went to India, even our food, when we went to India, I saw someone, now walking down the road, and he'd clearly done one day's full work. He'd done one day's full work. You know what he had in his hand? He's walking, right, and he'd dropped one of his sweet corns on the floor. So he'd obviously done work at someone's house all day, and they gave him a handful of sweet corn. That was his payment. And he dropped one. Now, we chuck them in the bin all the time. He dropped one, and he's picking it up, and there's all dirt on it, and he's picking it up and putting it back in his hand for the one he dropped. And so I say to tell the kids off every day, they eat their cereal, it leaves half a plate of milk in the thing. We go into langar, the people eating langar, they leave all the juta, shadkyotar, sit them there, and that's free. That's how it's sad. And when you see it at that level, but this is. But now when we talk about cozy bed, you sleep on a cozy bed. Man art do we ever do Kirtan? Do you ever want to do Kirtan or listen to Simran? We don't want to, huh? But bed is only like here. When we talk about everyone honours you. No one's done your basety, right? No one's taught you as you're nothing, zero. Everyone, you've got a certain level of respect. Guru says repeat his praises because he gave you it. So I'm not going to go over that. There's 8 sections to that, and they equate to those things that we had in the green boxes, you know? But who's the next? Did you have anything else on that? But his sharan, when you go to his sharan, the 5 evils go. Now our 5 evils don't go. We do a certain behaviour while we're here in his sharan. Our behaviour here is not acceptable, you know? So that we got to give up our habits there, you know? So I'm going to quickly, because we've gone quite late now. Who's got the microphone? Fine. Is there anything? Just give me a question. Speaker? So those are the questions. Now I just want to summarise. In terms of when we talk about gratitude and unhappiness, the unhappiness is desiring what you don't have. You know? Clearly that's something, I think like we talked about, if we lose someone, or if we want something, if you lose someone, you've lost them, you know? You can't do anything. It doesn't matter. If you can either get unhappy about that forever, or you have to move on. And it's desiring that's never going to come back. That you have to let. But happiness and sorrow are the same package. The thing that's going to give you happiness is going to give you sadness. Or you're going a level above that to say the thing that's controlling happiness and sadness is Waheguru. You're joining that at that level, not at the level below it. That's what we'll go over in the next few weeks. It's not as easy as just walking in and the 5 evils are going to go away. But there's something you've got to give. There's something you've got to give, you know? It's a bit like what Guru is saying, there's a payment, but with that payment you get a triple, quadruple payment. But we don't want to give the payment, you know? That's the issue. So you will get both happiness and sadness in our lives. That's going to happen. There's no such thing. In all our lives it's going to be happy, happy, happy. It doesn't happen, huh? Those who have gratitude are more likely to be happy, and the Guru Sharan or Shauta is linked to how grateful you are. So if we come to the Guru Sharan and say, I'm grateful for everything that you've given, we'll probably act differently. We'll probably behave differently. This is an application. If you've got Android phone, huh? Or I don't know if it's available on Apple, but if you can download this, and it's just a journal. If you ignore everything there on the left hand corner here, there's this gratitude thing. All you do, you click gratitude and just write something about when you're feeling that you're grateful for something. You don't need to do this, you can write it in a diary if you want. When you feel grateful for something, you write it down. Now I've done it, for a few days. I think it makes a big difference, because even one day I was just watching the Sikh channel before I was going to drop the kids off to school. On that Bhai Gurdasi, he told Bhai Gurdasi's father, and or Kabit Savaya on there. And the Kabit Savaya was like when a beggar comes to someone's door, because after begging for a long time, the person inside feels that, oh, like, put a lot of effort in, and they give him some money and he goes. So the dog comes, after a bit the person feels sorry for the dog, puts a bit of food out, lets him go. And he says, he got an old pair of shoes, and we chuck them in the shed, we chuck them in a garage, chuck them somewhere. But one day when you need them, then you say, oh, where's those shoes? And you go and grab them. Bhagavad gives those 3 examples. He goes, go to the Guru Sharan and do his seva like that you like dirty pair of shoes, you know? We like, do the Kutanindaya, and like we're beggars at the door. And one day he says, when your ego goes a little bit far away, he goes to bless you, just like you bless a beggar out the door. He blesses you, he does it. He doesn't do it to us because we don't act like beggars, you know? Guru Di Sharan mein jaise aande, when we come here, I say, meri gaddi is best, my clothes are best, my family is most respectable. We come like that. We become a bit Akiratakan. I guess what Bhai Tarsem talking about before. If we come here like that, so this is just an example someone's done the gratitude. I'm grateful for the time this morning with the kids, the warmer weather, and the job I love. Now, do we think like that, or do we go, oh my gosh, go back to that silly job again, I've got to find another one, and the weather outside is just hot today, so I can't wear my jacket. It's like, just like the opposite, but I ran a mile today at my best pace, so someone did exercise, you know. Just writing it down makes you start thinking differently, you know. So things to take away from today. So be aware of your gratitude line. When that line starts going down, and you start thinking, oh, I need something, forget about that, so what, I've got all these 50 billion things. You've got so many things that you should be happy about. Be aware of that, keep that line, high gratitude. You know? Start recording it when you feel grateful, and you may have more than you already need, remember that. We probably have got more than what we already need. The amount of time, spare leisure time we have, the amount of money we've got, the amount of clothes, the amount of... Sara kuch extra hai, sanu miliya. Loads extra than what we needed. But that our gratitude just becomes like, yeah, whatever, what's next, please? That's the end of that. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. The next week we'll cover another topic. But at the end of this, if we're committed to it, I guarantee everyone's life will change. If we're committed to it, you know? If we're not committed to anything, nothing really, you don't get anything for nothing, right? So if we're committed to it, then you'll see changes in yourself. And the thing I'm trying to prevent is, like I'm saying to you, I see these youth, they're 18 years old, 19 years old, by the time they're 20, 21, these guys are just totally, they're back to zero. I don't even know if they went off zero, to be honest. But this buzz happens for about a few months and then they're finished. And when you talk to them, and when you talk to people, I'm saying, when I said to people, I spoke to people, give me something, tell me about happiness, things that you've done. They can't even recollect them. So build up happy experiences in your life about Sikhi. I'm particularly focused on Sikhi. I don't care about the other stuff. Party that's nonsense. You know? Sikhi and build up the proper, really happy things. So when you're doing your part in the morning, is your happy experience, or is it just like, quick, get it out of the way, get it out of the way? Building up those things. And do some, every Gursikh, you have to emphasize this, in Naam, Guru Di Gal is about Naam, nothing else. The whole of Gurbani is about Naam. Naam, the matlab ya, Vaheguru da Naam lena. We should be doing Simran. And I know there'll be plenty of Gursikhs who done Amrit. Oh, Naam to japde nahi hai. Guru's Nitnem is not Panch Bani the Nitnem, Rera Savit Soila. That's not Guruji's Nitnem. Guruji's Nitnem is Naam Simran when you wake up, Naam Simran when you have an Ishnan, Naam Simran when you sit down, then Nitnem of Panch Baniya. Simran when you were walking about Ambani, and then Reras in the evening, and Soila, and Simran before you go to sleep. That's Guru's Nitnem. Guru's Nitnem is not Panch Baniya and Reras and Soila. That's half Nitnem, you know? So remember that the whole focus is on meditation as well. Guruji is saying, find Vaheguru inside. And you won't find him. Anyone who tries to do Simran for a bit, anyone who tries to do it for a bit, your mind starts running away. And the reason why it runs away is because you did a gratitude line, it's gone somewhere else. As it goes lower and lower, the mind stops. That I guarantee you, the mind slows down. But it has to go lower and lower and lower. It won't go down if you still think, you know, yeah, what am I going to do next? It should be, your focus should be really nima hona. So thank you for coming, attending today. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji